Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/howshemoms. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Angela has loved to read since she was a little girl, and she brought that passion into her own home to her 5 children, who all love to read as well. In turn, she and her family are bringing that love of reading to people all over the world as they volunteer for a nonprofit organization called Village Book Builders. This August, she went with her daughter and son-in-law to Malawi, Africa to help finish a library in a small village called Kadzakalowa. Here's Angela.
We were gone almost 2 weeks and went to Malawi, Africa, helped finish building the library, brought about 1,500 books there, set up 12 computers, put in solar panels to bring electricity for the computers, and brought lamps for the girls especially to be able to take to their homes to read and study at home so that they didn't have dangerous experiences on their way home from school. There's no electricity in the village, so this library has brought amazing hope and enthusiasm to the village.
This is the How She Moms podcast, where we talk about how different moms solve the same problems. I'm Whitney Archibald, a mother of 5 kids myself. I collect ideas so you can pick and choose what works for you and your family. I actually met Angela through books. She was the coach for the Battle of the Books team at our school, a trivia bowl competition held through our public libraries each year. I could tell she was passionate about reading and encouraging kids to read, so I liked her immediately. Plus, she's just a lot of fun. I'm so excited that I get to share my lovely friend with you. I've interviewed so many amazing moms, and I usually just share little snippets in my podcasts, but it started feeling selfish to keep the rest of the interviews to myself. So, I've decided to start airing individual interviews as their own episodes at least twice a month, in addition to the crowdsourced episodes that I put out on the first Monday of each month. I promise to edit them carefully because I respect your time, and I'm so grateful that you're spending your time with me. Angela was actually the first in-person interview I've recorded for my podcast, so my big question was where to interview her to get the best sound. I usually record in my closet. The clothes absorb the sound, so there's no echo. But I thought it might be a little weird to invite her into my closet the first time she ever came to my home. So I rigged an adult-sized fort in my basement reading nook under the stairs. I filled it with extra pillows to absorb sound, and I clipped a blanket over the opening. For some reason, I thought this was less weird than a closet. I don't know. Anyway, there are 2 reasons I'm sharing these behind-the-scenes details. 1, so you can picture us snuggled into a reading nook while talking about reading. 2, because it was a terrible idea. The sound quality isn't actually very good because of various basement background noises and microphone placement. So the next time I did an in-person interview, I just swallowed my pride and did it from my closet. So anyway, please forgive the sound quality. I started our conversation by asking Angela how she learned to love reading in the first place.
I've loved to read ever since I could remember, and I think that's due to both my parents and my aunt, my second mom. She's my Auntie Anne.
Okay.
And she was a first grade teacher, and she always bought us books every time she came to see us. And she'd take me to bookstores, and she'd take me to the library, and she gave me some of my favorite books. So yeah, ever since I was little, I've always loved to read.
Yeah. And what do you think was your Aunt Anne's motivation?
Oh, well, she just loved to see us learn. I remember when she celebrated that I could read because I, been good friends with her, and she'd been my mentor since I was tiny. She didn't have any children of her own and never married, and she was my dad's older sister, and she just sort of kind of adopted me. I was her favorite. Although everybody says that. They all thought she was her favorite. I think her motivation really was she just loved to see us learn and explore places that we weren't in at the moment. And I think teaching us how to imagine and explore new things and dream big and have new ideas and have interesting things to talk about. And of course, that helped me in school. And I think she just loved to see me succeed in all those areas in school and imagination and learning, all of that, the excitement that comes from going someplace without leaving your reading nook.
So when you say she celebrated when you learned to read, what do you remember about that?
I remember she would just, Angie! She called me Angie. Not very many people call me Angie. You can read! Let's read this book. Let's read this book. And she would just get so excited for any little thing that I could do. And I must have been probably 4 when I could, start putting a little sentence together or recognize words. And I just remember her being my biggest cheerleader. She wanted to take a picture of me reading. She wanted to clap and tell everybody that her little Angie can read. Anyway, I just love that she got so excited that I could read. So it was a big deal to her, so then it became a big deal to me.
Of course, Angela brought this enthusiasm for reading to her own family. She has 5 kids, first 3 daughters who are now grown up and out of the house, and then 2 sons in high school and middle school.
I remember reading to my babies before they were born, and when they were born. I've read to them since they were born, on my lap or in my arms or in my body. So I think that you start early and you do it often, and you love it, then they love it.
Well, and they probably don't even recognize that that's a unique culture, or that's even an intentional thing.
Right.
It just is part of their landscape.
Absolutely. It's just part of our family. We just read. That's what we do. But I do know that reading when they're young and then throughout, even when they're older, they still like to read aloud together. And I love that. We've had some of our older kids read to our younger kids, or younger kids read to older kids. And my husband too. He doesn't read as much for fun, but he has always read to our kids as well. So they know both their parents value it and know how important it is. So they do too. When my girls were little, we read the Little House on the Prairie series aloud every night, and we went through the whole series, and that's something they really remember. We also read as a family the scriptures, the New Testament this year. We've been reading a lot together as a family, and so every single day we read aloud as a family. Number one, I just think it makes them better students and better learners, not just at school, but in life, in everything. If you need to know something, you go read about it. If they love to read, they learn how to learn, and they're better students. They're more inquisitive. They ask better questions, and then their minds are open to learning new things, which, has lasting value in all parts of their lives. As far as their character goes, I think being able to understand people different than ourselves in different situations, in different areas, certainly helps them be more empathetic, more compassionate, more understanding, a better world citizen, and perhaps can be more loving and kind because they understand that the way they live isn't the way everybody lives. And I think that's definitely translated to my older girls having experiences with different people in different areas of the world, and understanding that we're not all the same. We don't actually have to travel there, which I also love, which I value as well, but we don't have to actually go and live somebody else's life in order to understand and be compassionate. So I think those are probably the 2 biggest values.
In addition to just taking the time to read together often, Angela used several other tactics to make sure reading was a big part of her children's lives. For one, they made it a summer tradition to head to the library at the beginning of each summer and sign up for the summer reading program. Then she'd actually follow through and help her kids track the books they read. She also continued a summer routine she learned from her mom. I'm totally stealing this.
One thing my mom started when I was a kid, which I loved, was summertime did not mean we didn't have reading time. We had rest time every day, and it was after lunch, before the afternoon activities, and we always, at least 2 hours, you could take a nap, or you could read a book, or you could write a story, and that's what you could do. It was quiet, alone time where you'd read, and I did that with my kids as well. So all summer long, we have quiet time where we read, and I love that. My mom had 8 kids, and I was the oldest. She had 7 and 11 years. And I think for her sanity, she needed that rest time every single day. And she would read every single day. I saw her laying on her bed, reading a book. And so that's what I've done too. That rest time is the time that we get to read. And I try to lay down and read at the same time that my kids are.
That is such a good idea, and might be why I've never been able to make rest time stick. Because I was bustling about and trying to get everything done.
Right.
And then they want to be right with you.
Of
But
course.
if you're like chill too.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's my mom's idea, and she did it my whole life, and it makes complete sense to me.
It's great. I love it.
It's given my kids chances to have that time to read as well. And if I'm not reading, like you said, they want to follow me around and do other stuff. So if we're all reading, it works. And individually too. I think it's important to have our own alone time reading. Sundays we still do. Every week, Sunday, okay, it's quiet, reading time. I try to make their content a little different on Sundays than other days. I try to have them be more contemplative and read more religious stuff. But anything that's helping them become a better person or understand people better or love people more, I think has value for sure.
Angela also makes sure books are accessible for her kids.
Every child has a bookcase in their room, and it's full of books, and try to rotate them around and make sure they're, the age appropriate ones for them so that they'll just see a book and pick it up. Then when they have easy access to books in their own room, then they're more likely to pick them up, and they all do. They all love to read, which I love.
And of course, Angela has made it a priority to maintain her own reading life.
I remember as a young mother, I was feeling overwhelmed, and I realized I hadn't been taking care of my intellectual life, my health, that way, as well as other ways. As moms, we get busy and we don't take time to take care of all parts of us, right? And I joined a book club when they were still little, but old enough that some of them went to school and I could bring one with me. And I came home from the first book club, and I think we read the one about rich dads.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was the one. And I remember coming home, my brain, I finally feel like it's engaged again. So talking about books, reading a book, finally helped me feel a little more balanced as a mom, actually.
Yeah.
Which, is important, especially when you have a lot of little ones or just even one little one and your whole life is consumed with taking care of them. And, we're reading to them, but we need to read for us as well. Because I remember my mind feeling engaged and being, oh yes, I like this.
Last year, Angela's second daughter married a man from Nigeria. He grew up near a man who started the nonprofit organization Village Book Builders, and he knew he wanted to be part of it. Last Christmas, Angela's son joined her daughter and son-in-law to build libraries in 2 villages in Mexico for his Eagle Scout project. It was an amazing experience for him. Then this August, Angela's son-in-law led a team to a village in Malawi, and Angela jumped at the chance to join them.
My daughter and her husband led this last trip in August to Malawi, Africa. The library was almost built through donations, and then I decided I would love to go with them and experience this, since reading and the reading culture in the home and at school are both things that I have a strong passion for. I thought it would be fantastic, and I also love to travel, and I love to be with my daughter and her husband, so I thought it would be a perfect fit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were gone almost 2 weeks and went to Malawi, Africa, helped finish building the library, brought about 1,500 books there, set up 12 computers, put in solar panels to bring electricity for the computers, and brought lamps for the girls especially to be able to take to their homes to read and study at home, so that they didn't have dangerous experiences on their way home from school. There's no electricity in the village. And so this library has brought amazing hope and enthusiasm to the village.
I love how they buy the materials and then the village builds
it. The village
it.
builds it, but they have to donate the land as well. So they have to find somebody who'll donate the land. The village has to come and donate their labor, or take care of the person who has the skills to do the labor. So they have to do that part, and they have to want it. The village has to be invested in it. They have to provide the librarian as well and be trained in how to take care of it. They have to follow up and show that they really are taking care of things. I'm actually in communication with the librarian in Malawi right now, and he is so excited about sharing his love of reading. He's a teacher at the school and has a little more than some of the villagers, but now he sees what a difference this is going to make. His name's Nicholas, and he's so excited to have this resource to them. While I was there, we split up in groups and were able to go visit each home, actually.
Really?
Yes. And we took a book with us. We'd read books to the families, with the parents, the kids, everybody would gather around.
And do they speak English pretty well?
Some of them speak English okay. We had a translator with us to help us with anything we needed help with. But the awe in their eyes that we had books in our hands that they could look at, a touch and feel book. We had them touch the books. They were in awe of being able to hold books. It was incredible to me. When we have so many books around us here, we take it for granted. They had no idea. One specific story, the 76-year-old woman, all 6 of her children have died of AIDS, actually.
Oh my goodness.
And she had never had a book in her home. We sat there with her granddaughter and great-grandson, who was a baby, and we read The Little Engine That Could. You should have seen her face. She was tickled pink about the little peaches and apples and oranges and the dolls that could talk and that the little engine made it over. The magic of the story brought sparkles to her eyes, and I had not looked at that book that way in a long time. And so the little baby and his mother, her granddaughter, were just captivated by this book, not to mention the grandma. And the idea that they can now go to this library that's in their village within walking distance and check out these books, bring them into their own homes, read with their kids. We challenge them that reading with your children or having your children read to you is a beautiful way to cultivate this reading culture in your homes, which is, what we do here. A lot of us do here. And that brings hope to them for education, for better futures, for a world outside of this village that's ravaged by poverty and starvation and no electricity and sickness. It was an amazing experience. And
well, I love the thought of the lamps.
Absolutely.
Because that's solving such a fundamental problem.
It is. And they're LED lamps, so they bring them back to the library after they check them out, and they just plug them in to the solar panels that recharge the batteries. It's fantastic, really. I'm really excited. The organization has asked me to become more involved with a library for Kenya next year, a little village called Chiabasis. And so I'm looking forward to helping them raise the funds to build the actual building. The land was donated. The labor will be donated by the village because they believe in the reading and literacy culture as well. It's amazing how one book can make such a difference. I have a bunch of really great photos of these little kids holding the books, and they're in awe that they have these books, an actual book in their hand.
Thousands in our
Exactly.
houses. Yeah.
Exactly. We have thousands, and I'm always trying to get rid of books. I mean, I'm buying books too, of course, but and collecting books, but we have so many, and just one, even of any topic even, they get so excited about it.
We're going to take a quick break to talk about our sponsor, Audible, which is very appropriate for this topic. If you haven't already experienced Audible, now's a great time to start. Audible is offering listeners of the How She Moms podcast a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/howshemoms. That's audibletrial.com/howshemoms for your free audiobook. You might want to start your Audible experience with this great recommendation from Angela, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind.
The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind is about a little boy in Malawi about 10, 15 years ago who was in poverty, in a drought-stricken, had no electricity. He found a little library attached to a school that he couldn't afford to go to anymore. But the librarian teacher would secretly let him check out the books. And he taught himself how to make electricity, how to build a windmill. And he built a windmill. And he helped bring his family out of starvation and to have electricity in their home. And so the picture book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, we read to some of the kids there in Malawi.
Oh, I didn't realize there's a picture book.
There's a picture book
okay,
that goes
I'll
with
get
it.
That. And
There's a picture book that goes with it. And we told him, if you can dream it and you can read it, you can do it. And that's amazing.
yeah.
It opens a whole world to them. You can teach yourself science through books. You can solve your problems in your life by reading books. So I am passionate about the project because it's not just giving them, food for the day. It's helping them be successful in life. And our own kids around the world, even adults, everybody needs to know how to read and love to read. Can't believe what a difference in just general happiness in your life and practical reasons as well. Teaching yourself how to build a windmill so that your family can get water on your crops so that you can eat.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's an incredible story.
And what is the literacy rate
The literacy
to be able
rate,
to use these books?
well, we had all levels of books there, which was fantastic. Even older people reading younger books, it's totally fine. We had adult books down to early readers, picture books, board books even for babies. So we also, on the computers, there is the Rosetta Stone program that teaches the kids English.
Great.
They learn English in school, they speak English in school, but some of the older people don't speak English. If they went to school and stayed in school, then some of the parents do speak English. Okay. So,
And they can kind of read it.
and then they can sort of read it. And the more they practice, the better they get, of course. And this Rosetta Stone is available to all of them at the library.
That's great.
That helps them learn English better. So,
and I'm guessing like just having computers it's crazy.
Most of them had never even seen a computer before, let alone used one. So the sparkle again in their eyes. Babies use computers here, right? They use their iPads or whatever.
Yeah.
And these kids were just in awe that they could have a computer at their fingertip. They could use a computer, and it was available to them in their own village in the middle of a country that is definitely third world country. So the computers and the lamps, the books, and the reading nooks in the library. We had some members of our team who brought comfy pillows and reading buddies, stuffed animals, and hanging chairs and little tents that they could sit in, all sorts of fun things so that reading could be a fun and awesome place. Because reading matters. It can bring you out of poverty. This William Kamkwamba, from The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, he now travels all around the world, speaks, gives inspirational talks. He went to Dartmouth to college because he taught himself. His parents couldn't afford to send him to school anymore. And he started, getting some attention of some people who could help him because he taught himself out of books from a little library. And so it's a very inspiring story. That's what we're doing here. We're also increasing bonds between parents and children, being able to read together, spending time reading together. And it doesn't even really matter what it is. It helps relationships grow. And that's what we're trying to do in my home and also through Village Book Builders.
Thank you for listening to the How She Moms podcast. If you like the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you'd head over to iTunes and leave a review to help more people find it. And tell your friends. You can find more articles, profiles of how different moms approach different topics, and a list of some of my upcoming topics at howshemoms.com. And I'd love to know how you mom. If you'd like to contribute your ideas to this community, you can email me at whitney@howshemoms.com. And you can follow me at Instagram and on Pinterest at howshemoms. Special thanks to my own mom, Susan Singley, for recording the theme music to my podcast. She played this song often as I was growing up, and to me, it's part of the soundtrack of motherhood.